In our last module, we focused on the structure of group policy, the foundations of how group policy is delivered and targeted to different users and computers. Now with that out of the way, we can focus then on the settings themselves, the actual configurations you would apply to a user or a computer through a GPO. And in order to accomplish that, we've got a couple of different topics here to discuss in this module, the first of which being just a tool that's available there in the Group Policy Management Console for distilling down that very large number of available group policy settings down to something a bit more manageable. These property filters are exactly what you would think. They're a way to essentially eliminate the group policy settings that you're not interested in. There is also, in these group policy filters, a way in which you can discern between what is called managed versus unmanaged group policies. And these are very important, that the differentiation between a managed and an unmanaged setting is important because, very specifically, the managed settings are those that are reverted or essentially removed and replaced back with the original setting if at any point that user or computer moves out of the scope of the applied GPO. So we'll talk about that here in this first task on property filters, how to find the ones that are managed as opposed to unmanaged. And then from there, we'll move on to configuring the group policy settings themselves. Now, I know that we've already done this a number of times, both here in this learning path for the 411, as well as back in the 410 in that learning path. But here we have a couple of kind of oddball ones, some special use case situations where configuring settings may not be immediately obvious. These are the configuration of software and how to install software on machines. This is also folder redirection, or how to automatically redirect a folder from a user's desktop out to some server location. This will be the configuration of those log on and log off scripts, the power on and power off scripts that you can apply whenever machines power off, power on, log in, or log out. As well as a quick focus there on just the administrative template settings themselves. Again, we've already done that, but I want to use one specific use case here that we discussed earlier, having to do with that removable storage and disabling the abilities for users to plug in removable hard drives through USB thumb drives. Now, those are the settings that are available directly in the interface and the ones that are available from Microsoft, but group policy itself is designed to be extensible. And so here inside Group Policy, you have the abilities to create your own custom administrative template files. Now, this process is fairly non-trivial, and in fact, it's harder to do these days than was it in days gone past, back in previous generations of the OS. Back in older OS versions, Microsoft developed its own language for building these admin template files, which they've since moved into XML. And so these days, there's more code you have to write. It's also less obvious to accomplish the same thing. Now, we won't get into the specifics of building your own template files for our purposes here for the 411. I think it's more important for you to understand how to do the import and where you can find custom admin files. We'll focus specifically on the Office 2013 use case and the custom ADMX files that Office 2013 have. We'll also talk about a quick use case here having to do with Configuration Manager and the Config Manager client that you might want to apply to machines in your environment. And then lastly, we'll conclude with a look here at security templates, which I believe is a complete cut and paste from the same topic we had back in the 410 exam. Now, security templates, like the Windows firewall, which we discussed back in 410, security templates are one of those where it may not necessarily be the best approach to go about configuring security settings in group policies first. If you think about it, because group policies, when you create a group policy, when you configure a setting, that setting is automatically active and can very quickly begin reconfiguring computers. And so for that reason, it can actually be a better idea for you to create your security templates offline on just a single machine so that you know you've got everything exactly perfect before you then import in that template to create a group policy object. So indeed, this is kind of a repeat from 410, but it's actually kind of the process in reverse from what we talked about there. We'll explore how to create that template file there on a local machine and then import it in to create that GPO.